Emma Watson is depressed because she just found out that feminism is not the world, and that the wider non-feminist majority tends to talk back in the face of the endless stream of utter nonsense that comes off from her mouth.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Yes, of course I picked that up from the idea from Andrew Clavin. Much better than Smjork, for sure. Let's explore. Hello everyone and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Alrighty, let's talk about poor little Emma Watson and her sadness. Coming from the Daily Mail, Emma Watson reveals she couldn't get out of bed after she fell into sulk after backlash against her feminism. And goes like this, quote, "She took a year away from the big screen. Translation, she had nothing to do as no one would hire her since she's a has-been with no particular relevance for today's scene." Anyway, so she took a year away from the big screen in a bid to focus on raising awareness of her UN campaign urging men to back feminism. But after being branded a white privileged feminist whose male-focused drive actually furthered the oppression of women, Emma Watson admits she struggled to cope with the backlash. I'm so loving this. The Harry Potter star, 26, says that her self-esteem took such a hit she fell into a 24-hour sulk and had a battle on her hands even to get out of bed. Speaking to Elle magazine, she explained, quote, "It really toughened me up. There is a level of criticism that comes with being an actress, which I expect, but once you take a stance on something like feminism, that's a completely different ballgame. There were a couple of days when I just didn't want to come out from under the duvet. I realized I needed 24 hours to sulk," close quote. Last September, the actress made headlines with her rousing speech at the United Nations as she launched He for She, which pushed the message gender equality is your issue too. Despite a tide of negativity against her, Emma has since been in demand to speak more on the subject and even pen a book. Far more lucrative than acting, for sure. Anyway, but she admits herself that she's far from being an expert on the history of women's rights and claims she doesn't deserve all the respect she has received from her supporters since. She adds, quote, "I need to see and do a bit more first. It's not like I have been reading this material for years and I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge. It can be a lot of pressure sometimes as people expect me to know so much. I am no expert and people push me into a corner. It's uncomfortable because I have a long way to go. I'm not sure I deserve all the respect I get yet, but I'm working on it," close quote. Last year, Emma revealed that even as Hollywood star, she is not immune from unwanted advances and has even had her bottom slapped by a stranger. Oh, the poor thing. And I can bet she totally didn't like that. Of course she didn't. But this is the part where she goes full retard with this whole "me too, my lived experience" crap. Listen to this, quote, "The actress said that her celebrity does not protect her from leering men and some have followed her home. In one particularly galling instance, a man slapped her bottom as she left the room. The star said that she has been called a diva and a feminazi, but she does not let it bother her, and will not shut her up. Watson has been vocal in support of feminism and in 2014 founded gender equality organization He for She, the year she was appointed a UN Global Goodwill Ambassador. But she has also suffered a backlash and has come under fire from men on social media. The Brit who played Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter films said that talking about women's rights was the most fun I've ever had. She told People magazine, quote, "We're not supposed to talk about money because people will think you're difficult or a diva. But there's a willingness now to be like, fine, call me a diva, call me a feminazi, call me difficult, call me a first world feminist, call me whatever you want. It's not going to stop me from trying to do the right thing and make sure that the right thing happens. Because it doesn't just affect me. Whether you're a woman on a tea plantation in Kenya, or a stockbroker on Wall Street, or a Hollywood actress, no one is paid equally. Aj majd ma földet én pulamádiót szétpénal. Seriously? You're seriously comparing yourself to women working on tea plantations in Kenya? Really? You see, this is why I'm getting a lot more radical in the belief that feminism is genuinely a mental disorder that requires psychiatric treatment. Because it takes absolute insanity to compare yourself, Emma Watson, with women in Kenya. I've been saying for almost a month now that I'll be writing a column on this with all of the data, but I keep on postponing it because, the schedule has been crazy. But the argument against such insanity is this: get a bloody sense of proportion. 100% of women in Kenya would literally kill to be as unequal and as oppressed as Emma Watson is. Heck, I might even reconsider my stance on killing for a shot to be as oppressed and discriminated against as Emma Watson is. And I'm not sure I'm joking. For instance, the country with the highest ratio of female entrepreneurs is Zambia. Now, where do you think Zambian women would want to be? In Zambia, where they get to smash the patriarchy, dominate the market, and be strong, empowered women? Or they would rather be in a patriarchal hellhole like the United States or most of Europe, where the ratio of female entrepreneurs is significantly smaller than in the Zambian progressive feminist utopia, but somehow even the poorest women live significantly better, not to mention longer, than even the top-tier businesswomen in Zambia. Seriously, where do you think Zambian women would rather prefer to be? Here's another example. The country with the highest female employment per capita is Tanzania. Now, do you think Tanzanian women who smash the patriarchy and break the gender norms and smash the glass ceilings wouldn't prefer to be oppressed in a patriarchal hellhole like, say, the Netherlands or Slovakia, countries that are routinely chastised by the European Union busybodies for allegedly maintaining segregated workplaces, which is, by the way, code word for not entertaining retarded nonsense like affirmative action? Where would Tanzanian women rather be? The country with the highest ratio of women in parliament is Rwanda. Now, where do you think Rwandan women would prefer to live? In Rwanda, where they have superior representation in the parliament, or in Norway, where they get less than half of that precious representation? Serious question. Same is the case here with Emma Watson. The women on tea plantations in Kenya would probably, very likely, love to have your oppression problems. I mean, we cannot know for sure, we didn't ask them about that, but call it an educated guess emanating from my white cishet patriarchal privilege or something. Women on tea plantations in Kenya don't suffer because, when averaged with urban male expats who work in highly skilled trades in the capital city, they average less in wage with those. No. They suffer because Kenya, by and large, still sucks. And the only way forward to gradually ameliorate the sucking is to work hard and slowly accumulate capital and grow. Like Botswana did. Or Angola, for that matter. Now they have immigrants from Portugal in Angola. You see, people don't know these things, but Africa has recorded a tremendous amount of economic progress in the last 15 years. People still think of these kinds of images when they hear Africa, and sure, these kinds of images are still around today, but they're much less frequent than 15 years ago. Now, parts of Africa also look like this, or like this. Sure, there's still a long way to go, but to have the audacity, the gall, the ineptitude to compare yourself, Emma Watson, with women on plantations in Kenya, that absolutely does require insanity. Now, the good news is that this shtick is not working anymore. And thank God, hallelujah, says the heathen. But no, seriously. This charade has passed its peak moment. Sure, it will continue to be profitable for the likes of Emma Watson and a few others for at least another 4 or 5 years, maybe 6, but by and large, this nonsense is over. They're no longer growing, they're not even stable anymore, they're rapidly bleeding members, and that is fantastic. What we need now is to draw on the accumulated wisdom of over 105 years of vigorous non-feminist thought and treat the survivors. And yes, I mean it when I say treat the survivors. Because going out from feminism is like leaving a cult. Like leaving Scientology, basically. It leaves a huge psychological scar upon the victim that needs to be treated. And those who leave feminism now and will leave it within the current year and the next year are essentially survivors. People who've gone confidently till the bottom of the abyss of insanity and came back and lived to tell the story. Now, I went there too, but I'm not a survivor because I used scuba diving bulletproof equipment and went there for research purposes. But still, we should empathize with those who managed to snap out from the disease that feminism is. Now, the bad news, which is not really bad news in all of this, is that now the actual work has to start. Within the next 5 years, it will be up to us, the politically activated non-feminist sector, to not only treat the wounded, but also to come up with a solid alternative. In fact, we have to come up with several dozens of solid alternatives. People need to believe in a narrative. This will always be true. Now sure, exceptions do exist, but by and large, most people insist to believe in an overreaching narrative. And when you shatter someone's narrative, you'd better come up with a replacement, especially if you shatter such a profound narrative. But I guess more on that some other time. I really need to make a long research and analysis video on narratives because it's a topic that is rarely understood even on our side of the aisle, and it's a hugely important topic that makes the difference between winning and winning big, or bigly. In any event, for the time being, the backlash against the nonsense spouted by Emma Watson and similarly distasteful ideologues must continue and will continue. We're not done yet, but we sure are much further ahead than we were 5 years ago. I mean, I've been in the counter-feminist business for 7 years now, and I definitely appreciate the progress done so far. With all the nonsense from feminists, I'm actually a lot more optimistic right now. Anyway, with all of that being said, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon on Freedom Alternative.